right, so thank you everybody for coming out. This is the Teaching Dogs Self-Control and Impulse Control session. And I want to say that none of this is mine. I have learned it from multiple sources over the years, and so I'm basically sharing a compilation. And where I know that I remember where I got it from, I will note that, but none of it is my own creation. So I also want to ask that people hold their questions to the end, because I am very good at getting off on tangents. So I want to kind of stick to my notes so that we can get this through and not be here for 3 hours. I have a lot to cover, and I want to try and do it as quickly and concisely as I can. So some people would say that, all right, this is going to be a problem. There. Some would say that teaching a dog to focus on the handler is the #1 skill, because you can't train anything if you don't have the dog's focus. But I would say that self-control is important, because the dog can't focus on the handler unless they have some self-control. So let's take a look at some of the possible moments of self-control that occur when someone takes their dog for a walk. Assuming the dog has self-control, you've got the pre-walk signals. So anything that lets the dog know a walk is about to happen. The handler picks up the leash, they say you want to go for a walk, they get certain shoes on, whatever it takes. If the dog does not lose his mind, then that is a sign the dog has a little bit of self-control. They're not grabbing the treat bag or the treats as the handler is getting ready. Maybe they have to do a leave it if the handler drops their treats. They have to stay still enough to get the equipment on, harness, collar, leash. They have to wait for the handler to get ready. The shoes, the jacket, the phone, the hat, all of our stuff that we have to do before we walk out the door. They're not bolting out the door as soon as there's the slight opening. They're walking on a loose leash, hopefully. Because humans are slow. It takes a lot of self-control from the dog to do loose leash walking. They have to focus on the handler enough at least to pick up direction changes and go where the handler wants to go. They have to respond to some cues when the dog would rather be doing anything else. So if the dog responds to any cues, that's a sign of a little bit of self-control. They may have to wait for the person. The person might stop to talk to somebody, or get to an intersection, or stop to clean up after the dog. The dog shouldn't just keep pulling in multiple different directions to be going wherever they want. They have to ignore all the exciting scents and sounds and sights that they might see as they're walking that are a little bit too far off the path that the handler doesn't want the dog to go and investigate. And they have to ignore all of the people and dogs and critters and things that they may see as they walk down the street. And we thought we were just going for a simple walk, right? And that this shouldn't be that difficult for a dog. But in reality, a simple walk needs a lot of self-control. And so this isn't even taking into consideration dogs that have sensitivities and reactivities and things of that nature. So every single moment that's here on the screen can be a point of frustration for a handler, and especially if they have a dog that doesn't have self-control, because it becomes very difficult to take a simple walk when your dog doesn't have the self-control, and it becomes a vicious cycle where the handler does less because it's frustrating to hold on to the handle of the leash, and the less they do with the dog, the worse the dog gets. And so how do we get people to understand this? And how do we get people to train their dogs so that they can just take a nice walk and have it be a pleasure to do so? Years ago, I read an article titled "The Myth of the Normal Dog" by Casey LaMonaco. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. But she says in part that we have to get rid of the myth of the normal dog. People say, all I want is a normal dog, right? And what they really want is a highly abnormal dog. And to make the point, the article went on to list a lot of normal dog behaviors. So some of these are that they pee and potty wherever they want, right? They don't come when called. They actually don't respond to any human cues because our verbal language is a completely foreign language to them. So they don't know what we're saying until we teach them. Normal dogs default to fear when responding to new stimuli in the environment because that's a safety mechanism. It's a lot easier and more survival related if the dog freaks at something and goes away if it looks a little scary than if they hang around and check it out. They chew and dissect and destroy anything that they choose. Garbage, shoes.
Dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Leaves.
Yeah. They resource guard anything that they value or desire, and that's how they keep other dogs from taking their stuff. They bark and growl to communicate. They bite, and they don't have bite inhibition with people until we teach
Come to the
them.
groom show, you'll see a lot.
Yeah. Normal dogs dig holes as dens, as a cooler sleeping spot, to find food, or just because, it's fun to do. They vocalize when they're left alone. They don't know that that's not forever and that it's not their new normal. They chase anything that may be prey or fun to chase. They kill small animals and often eat them. They pull if they're restrained on leash. They're not comfortable having equipment on them. Collars, harnesses, leashes, muzzles, clothes, boots, all that's completely foreign to a normal dog. They like to run fast, even if they knock over children or property in the process. They sniff. They see the world through their nose. The scent is a primary source for a dog, where our vision is our primary source. And so they want to sniff everything. Crotches and counters and everything outside. They go wherever they please. They don't have personal boundaries. So, they get up on countertops and they climb on furniture and go in those rooms you don't want them to go into. They eat and roll in poop. They eat and roll in dead things. And they don't like every other dog they meet. That is perfectly normal for a dog and people to not like every other being. They don't want to be kissed and hugged and stared at. They don't want humans washing off all those good smells they rolled in. Or trimming nails, or brushing teeth, or doing vet visits. They don't naturally love being carried in purses, in strollers, in arms. They don't naturally love wearing outfits, no matter how cute they look. And they don't naturally love being confined in a house, a crate, a car, on a tether. Normal dog behaviors are wild dog behaviors. And Casey says that bad behavior in dogs is not bad behavior to the dogs. It's just normal behavior to them. And society does a disservice by assuming good behaviors are normal and bad behaviors are the ones that are odd. And it's the dogs that usually pay for this misconception and misunderstanding with their lives. So how many of you want normal dogs? How many of you just realized how normal your dogs really are?
I just know how they are in the groom shop.
Yep. So what we really want is very abnormal dogs. Because almost every single behavior that is normal for a dog is the exact opposite of what we want. So we have to find ways to teach them to not do what they would normally and naturally do. And we need them to exercise incredible self-control and impulse control on a daily basis. And the problem is that self-control is a concept. It's not a static behavior like sit and down that always feel the same to the dog. Self-control can take so many different forms, and as I showed, it's throughout life. They learn it living with humans and growing up with humans, but we can always do more to help them be better at what we like to do, what we like to see. So it helps to understand that there's an actual switch in the brain called the reticular activating system. And in very simplistic terms, it allows the dog to switch between the primitive reacting part of their brain, the brainstem part, to the frontal lobe thinking part that can process words and cues and things like that. I first learned about this from Brenda Aloff, and she calls the reacting brain the lizard brain. And so some examples of lizard brain in action is a scent hound following a scent trail. How many times have you heard people say, when my dog's nose hits the ground, their ears turn off? Mm-hmm. Well, kind of. They're stuck in lizard brain. So they're not in the processing part of their brain that can deal with the cues, the verbals that you're giving them. They can't process them until they learn to work that switch. Another example is a herding dog or a sight hound that reacts to fast movement. The second or third time that a young herding dog is in with livestock, they know what they're in there for. They're not quite sure what they're supposed to be doing, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. So they just want to chase and go, and there is no listening. There's no responding to humans. It's all about just have fun. And it can also be a frightened dog reacting to something scary. So lizard brain is react first and then maybe think. And it's not, it's something that happens before thinking, and it may be something that happens without thought needed. It may just be a normal dog behavior. It can be biting and chasing and getting so excited that thinking can't happen. So we need to help dogs learn to work that switch and as efficiently as possible, and get them back into thinking mode where they can process what we're saying. The more often that the dog practices switching back and forth between those two brain cells, the faster and more efficiently that they can do that. This is a great benefit to exciting sports like agility, dock diving, lure coursing, field work, bite sports, herding, and many more. The sports often get dogs so excited that they literally cannot process words. And so they get stuck in lizard brain. And that's when you get zoomies, and you get a dog that seems to go deaf. It's like, he knows this, why isn't he responding? Because he can't process it. He's not in that brain mode. The impulse control games are going to help the dog build the ability to handle greater and greater excitement. And we do that systematically. And we allow them to remain or instantly switch back into thinking mode even when they're really excited. And the better the dogs do this, the less frantic they get, and the more calm and controlled in the face of superstimulation that they can be. So they can perform better, faster, and without wasted energy. And it means they can hear you and process what you're saying. All good things when you're trying to do a sport with a dog. So, and for pet dogs, it means they're a lot easier to live with and do fun things with. The top left photo there, the beagle is, they're all my dogs, but that little boy was at camp for a week with me and many other people, and he was there with his family, and they had their own dog, but the parents were working with their dog, and he really wanted a dog to work with and do the fun stuff on his own. And so I loaned him my beagle because I had my other dogs with me too. And my beagle loved it because he got one-on-one. He stayed in their cabin. He lived with them the whole week and did all kinds of fun stuff with them. And he just had the best time. They both did. But I couldn't have done that if my beagle didn't have really good self-control and a decent amount of training.